What the hell was that? I don't know, but welcome into the PHNXDbacks podcast right here on PHNX. My name is Derek Montilla, formerly known as your mayor of PHNX. This guy next to me, he's not going to make it the whole show, I guarantee you that. I don't know if the electricity is going to get him through this one. It's Mr. Electric, Shawn DePaul. Shawn, what the hell did we just watch?
A fucking embarrassment is what we watched. I mean, that is
was an embarrassment.
Not the best team in baseball behavior. I'll say that.
No. It's a 162 game season.
Yeah, I mean,
right? It is flush them every once in a while.
It is a tremendous feeling to have like one game and be like, okay, sell the team. It's like
he was chanting "sell the team" throughout the whole.
I was not chanting "sell the team." I said it 2 to 3 times. Being hyperbolic, obviously.
Right. Yeah. He's
like
a little reactionary.
It was
even to me.
Yeah, it was like, but it's such a great feeling to be like, this is not what this team is.
Yeah, no,
right?
that's like, totally what it was.
If this happened last year, you'd be like, okay. Like, I mean, that you're going to get these.
We're going to
get these sometimes. It's the Phillies, whatever. I mean, there's definitely, like, it's not by no means encouraging. Yeah, you were hoping, especially because you were getting some encouraging signs from Davies, I feel like, for him to have a first inning like this particularly is obviously sucks. But it's,
to say the least.
It's one game in a season that's been otherwise really great, so I'm not going to sit here and be like, I'm not seriously going to sit here and be like, sell the team.
No.
We need to make wholesale changes. Like,
But to be fair, it's not like the Diamondbacks game 1 victory was a sound victory,
that's
right?
also a good
so
point,
when you look at the offense that the Phillies scored, you can't look at the offense in tonight's game because that was absurd. We had Josh Rojas on the mound throwing 44 miles an hour. I don't even know what the hell we were looking at one point, but the Diamondbacks did require them to score 9 runs in order to beat them in game 1 on Monday. So today's game, probably somewhere.
Wouldn't have done that today.
Yeah,
Wouldn't have done it today.
Today was not their day for sure. But I mean, this was probably, and you say hyperbole, and this might be hyperbole, but I don't know if it is. This was probably the worst game we've seen. Not the worst loss, but the worst game. I think other losses have hurt more, especially some of the ones that the bullpen blew. But this loss was probably one of the worst games all around, right? Yeah. The Arizona Diamondbacks were down from the very first batter of the game. Kyle Schwarber hit a Schwarbomb, and the Diamondbacks were down 1-0, and they were down 4-0 before they even picked up a bat. Zach Davies was just flat out awful today, despite the fact that we've seen some things out of him that have been very encouraging. Today was as far from encouraging as you could get. He went 3 innings pitched. He gave up. Now, this is crazy now with the end score, but I'm going to give you his line here, so hold on for me for a second. The Philadelphia Phillies did score 15 runs. Zach Davies responsible for 4. For 4 earned runs. For 4 earned runs in the game. But he went 3 innings, gave up 6 hits, 6 runs total, 4 earned. Some of those were due to some terrible defense behind him. I mean, this team, like, let's just say, even Corbin Carroll had one of the worst plays of his entire season today.
I mean, that's probably the worst plays that made his entire career. Like, I played baseball throughout high school. I never did that. Like, I never forgot how many outs there were. Like,
it was such an odd play. For those of you that might have missed it, Corbin Carroll basically caught a fly ball. JT Realmuto was on third base. Corbin's hat came off when he caught the fly ball, and then he just kind of nonchalantly turned around, turned his back to the entire field to go pick up his hat. And the only assumption there is that obviously he probably thought it was the final out in the inning, not thinking he had to get the ball back in. Thunderbolt in the chat points out McCarthy dropped 2 balls in I mean, 2 balls in this game. There were 2 catchable balls, as he would have said.
Yeah, I mean,
catchable if Alec Thomas is out there.
I mean, the one that went off the wall in center, I don't think after watching the replay wasn't necessarily catchable, but my problem with it is that I don't think it was catchable at all. Like, I think a better fielder probably reads that better and fields it off the wall, keeps the runner from getting all the way to third. Yeah. But I mean, this was a game where Cole is taking the words right out of my mouth. Everyone played bad. Like, except for our King Snake, which we'll get to in a second. He had himself a good game, but it didn't fucking matter because everyone else sucked. But like, when you're like bona fide MVP candidate is forgetting how many outs there are. You have your second baseman pitching. You have You're giving up 4 runs in the first game.
We do this show. We're much like you guys, right? We knew this was a foregone conclusion as far as the loss goes. That got frustrating. It was funny at first to see Josh Rojas out there, but we got shit to do. We have lives. We have stuff going on we want to get to.
And I mean, like I had said, Josh, like, he was smiling at first, but at the end of the day, he's a baseball player. That couldn't have been fun. Like you said, it's a certain point. He was just a dude getting shelled out there.
You brought that up. Like you said, like as a position player in baseball,
I pitched before, and it's just not fun. Like
it's fun for like 2 pitches, and then after that,
when you're going up there and you're messing around with your windup and you're getting guys to swing at 45-mile-per-hour curveballs and making them look foolish, that's funny. That only happens for a couple of pitches, and then you get guys start roping them, and then it's like, okay, I'm not enjoying myself anymore, and I was not enjoying myself.
No, and I don't think Josh Rojas was enjoying himself much, nor were we enjoying him after too long. But it's a long series. It's a 4-game series. The Diamondbacks have now split the first 2 games with the Phillies, and I think even though it was frustrating to watch, it was a smart move to try to save your bullpen, considering you knew that this wasn't an out-of-reach game. But there's something he said that was very true, and that is like we've grown accustomed to this team coming back. So it's kind of hard to watch them roll over and die when they just had for a period of time like a 7-run deficit. Like they can come back from a 7-run deficit.
Done this before.
We've seen them come back from worse before, right? But this was just a clunker of the game of a game for this team. One concerning part was Carson Kelly. Carson Kelly behind the plate was completely unable to throw runners out that were stealing second. The Phillies stole more bases against this team tonight, I think, than I've ever seen an opposing team steal. Let me see really fast just so I have the correct number. But 1, 2, 3, 4. So like I think that I'm sorry, I'm having a hard time reading, but it was just the Phillies just had the green light to run on Carson Kelly, and we've seen Gabriel Moreno play such good defense.
League leader and
behind
caught stealing above average.
Yeah, right. And I mean, I think that one thing Carson Kelly said the other day was he was asked about like if he was excited to come back or if he was impatient watching this team play so well, wanting to come back and be a part of it. And he did say that he wanted to get right first before he came back because he didn't want to be a detriment to this team. He didn't want to cost this team, victories. He hasn't really done much at the plate. If anything, he hasn't gotten his first hit since returning. Meanwhile, tonight, even Jose Herrera hit a home run in his first at bat for the Reno Aces. So, like, I think that there's some things, obviously, that didn't work for this team as far as guys returning, and it's going to take them a while to get back. But Joe Mantiply, another returning piece to this team, he went 3 innings pitched. He gave up 6 hits and 4 earned runs himself, and he had 1 strikeout. There was just the most fascinating situation between him and Torey Lovullo, where Torey came out to get him with 1 out left in the inning, and Joe literally told Torey to go.
He was yelling at him.
He was yelling at him, like almost disrespectfully, to go back to the dugout. And like, what's interesting about that is we've never seen that kind of fire out of Mantiply, I don't think, ever. Torey ended up going out there, having a mound visit with him, and then leaving him in the game to get that final out.
And he did.
And he did. We
weren't
that
confident that it was
going to happen very closely.
Yeah,
because
that felt like a home run was coming.
Yeah, like if you come with that kind of fire, you better get that last out, right? But it was interesting. Torey Lovullo brought up today about kind of earning some respect for Scott McGough, I think against the Oakland A's, which are in fact a confirmed wagon themselves. That Scott McGough really showed him something in that outing when he told Torey that he wanted to stay in the game and that he wanted to keep competing. And we saw that out of Mantiply. So I'm sure Torey definitely earned some respect for him. But Joe was not good tonight. Davies was not good tonight. Carson Kelly, not good tonight. The Diamondbacks pieces, and of course, there's a lot of other guys that weren't good. The Diamondbacks were just flat out bad at the dish. The only guy that could get anything cooking tonight, besides Corbin Carroll, who, as Gabriel said, Corbin Carroll is not leaving without something. Corbin Carroll got his dinger before he left the game. His 14th home run
Jumbo
of
Jacks.
the season.
We got free Jumbo Jacks, no cheese.
Jumbo Jacks, yeah, you're gonna have to pay extra for cheese if you want it. But our king snake of the game is Christian Walker, because Walker, single, double, triple Walker. He didn't hit dingers tonight, but he still had himself a day at Chase Field. But Christian Walker went 4 for 4 with 2 doubles and an RBI. Really, the Diamondbacks' only source of offense outside of that, Corbin Carroll dinger. I think who else had RBI? Carson Kelly did have a sac fly RBI, so he did do something.
Thanks, Carson.
He did do something.
That was, yeah.
I mean, and
massive
again,
sac fly to cut the lead to 14.
I don't want to just completely blame Carson Kelly. No, but like,
that's not what I'm doing at all.
But I'm going to say, like, it's like a lot of things, right? Ketel Marte wasn't in the lineup tonight. There were just a lot of things. You know, Lourdes Gurriel also went 0-4 tonight. So even though my hair was tingling earlier, he wasn't able to do anything at the dish at DH. His average drops below 300, and
but it's almost encouraging to me that everyone sucked though, because like it just feels like okay, they can all kind of just reset from this as a team. Whereas it's like like if you had just a really bad game from Corbin and like Davies also sucked and they lost 7-3 or whatever, it would have been like okay. A little unsettling, but this one I feel like it was a complete wash.
Yeah, you're right, and I mean you could get mad about it, but again, the Diamondbacks were down 4-0 before they even picked up a bat, and they weren't able to generate 4 runs.
Yeah.
So like right there, the Diamondbacks, no matter what happened, even if Davies got completely on track, they weren't able to generate enough offense to overcome the deficit from the first inning.
Kind of did. Like he only gave up one more run after that point, right?
Right.
So,
right. No, I know you're right.
Like, like it's not like he was. I mean, he wasn't good by any means, but like, yeah, literally after that first inning, it was first half inning, it was over.
Well, and I think it was, a mindset for him, right? Like, he was very frustrated, and there were there was a ball that McCarthy dropped the following inning. Manuel Rivera airmailed a throw to first base that should have probably got them out of the inning, and of course, that extended things. So, things didn't go right for this team. But Corey, I want to tell you, no, we don't suck again. It's only one game, and luckily in baseball, there's no aggregate scoring, so not a single one of the Phillies' 15 runs carries over to tomorrow's game. We get a fresh start.
Hey, remember what that Dodgers series in the first game or the first series of the season looked like? Yeah. They tied the series, right? But they were getting like embarrassed.
Oh, in the games they lost, they definitely got outclassed.
But I mean, if they don't count how bad you lose; they just count how you lose.
Exactly.
Soccer.
However, even with how bad things got, the D-backs were still able to score some runs late in the game, and they kept from being shut out, even though it looked early on like they were going to be shut out. And they are only one of 2 teams in Major League Baseball that has not been shut out this season, including the Toronto Blue Jays.
Yeah, forever linked, the Arizona Diamondbacks and the Toronto Blue Jays. Yeah, I mean that part is nice. Like that, there is something to say for that, especially in a game like this where you're getting embarrassed. And like you said, after the first inning, it felt over. To not give up, I think it's certainly a good sign. Certainly a silver lining from this.
Well, I'm glad you could find a silver lining. We are going to be joined by Jesse soon. He's going to be coming to us live from Chase Field, but I did want to hype up. We did get to chat with Corbin Carroll before today's game. It was this guy's first trip out to Chase Field with us as officially our third member of our crew, so that was fun. But Corbin Carroll was outstanding today. It was great to chat with him about a lot of different things, including his time with this team, his relationship with Torey, and how much he really wants to wear that All-Star jersey in Seattle. So it's going to be something we're dropping here soon, so stay tuned to the PHNX Sports YouTube channel.
He was just thinking, he was so distracted by how just awesome of an interview it was and how honestly good looking the interviewer was that he forgot how many outs there were later on in the game. Couldn't get it off his mind.
That makes a lot of sense. And I like that. But of course, you must be talking about the guy behind the camera is what I really feel like you're talking about here. I will say that it was interesting because we didn't see a lot of guys take batting practice today.
Yeah, I mean, it was just really 3 guys. I think it was just Rivera, Walker, and Ahmed.
Yeah, and saw Lourdes hitting off the tee earlier, and things like that. Gabriel wants to know how did Carroll smell. You're gonna have to watch the video. Yeah. That's
we could smell it through the
thing in the video, but. We do thank you guys for being here, of course, in the PHNX Sports YouTube channel. If you haven't subscribed to the channel yet already, I don't know what you're waiting for. It's the finest in Arizona sports journalism, I guess. Is that what you want to say?
Well, journalism. It's Jesse's journalism and our journalism.
Yeah, our fandom, if you will. But we thank you guys for being here. Make sure to subscribe, sign up for notifications. That way you don't miss when any of the shows go live. Leave us a thumbs up if you love our form of journalism. And if you're listening right now on your favorite audio podcasting app, please subscribe to us there. Sign up or leave us a review. We want you to let us know how we're doing. And sign up for a membership today. Go get yourself a diehard membership over at gophnx.com. We thank all of you that have already done that, but if you haven't done so already, the thing pays for itself right away. You go to phnxlocker.com, check out some of the wonderful merch we have to offer. You will get one of those hats or one of those shirts for free as part of your membership. You will also get a ranch card for Dobson Ranch Golf Course. I think that lets you hit like range balls like whenever you want, get a free bucket of range balls, all sorts of benefits out there. If you're a golfer in the East Valley, that's definitely something to check out. You also get a $50 gift certificate for Mountain Mike's Pizza. So I don't know, I'm trying to let you know that basically, but by the time you're done paying for it, it will have paid for itself immediately. But you also get Jesse's newsletter, Full Count, Gerald's newsletter. You get Craig Morgan, who I don't even know if he works here anymore. Does Craig still work here, or is he just retired to the Swiss Alps?
He other end of the spectrum, he's in Europe working.
Oh,
I'm just saying, keep a lookout.
He's doing work out there. What?
Craig Morgan doesn't stop.
Craig Morgan doesn't sleep.
That's why I thought he retired, because he was having a fun time.
Craig
I
Morgan
saw a
will stop
smile on
working.
his face in a picture. I don't even know who this guy is.
Craig Morgan will die before he stops working. I firmly believe that.
That's true.
So yeah, become a diehard, because even man's on the other side of the planet, he's still pumping out content for you.
He's probably in the Discord right now, and that's another benefit you get to being a PHNX diehard member. You get
diehards, by the way, worldwide. He met a diehard in Monaco.
Get out of here.
Bartending in Monaco.
What do you mean?
Yeah.
What? Honestly, how do these things happen?
Like he's a guy from British Columbia who became a Coyotes fan because he had a bunch of Coyotes on his fantasy hockey team, and then he went on.
That'll do it.
And then he went on Indeed, the job finding website, found a job as a bartender in Monaco, and just was like, and now he's a bartender at Monaco.
This is the most fascinating Coyotes fan I've ever
He is a PHNX Coyotes fan.
You could write a movie about this.
Literally.
What are the odds?
Let's see what we got. Charles Woodall Pike says Craig Morgan has to go on vacation. So important, Coyotes news will drop.
Yeah.
Them's the rules. You're absolutely right about that.
He left. The ASU joined a conference. Shane Doan became a member of the Toronto Maple Leafs. And he's still not back yet.
And you know what I'm furious about? This is no joke.
PHNX fantasy baseball.
Shane Doan was going to be our PHNX fantasy baseball correspondent. I wish I could make up a joke that good, but it's not. It's a real thing that was going to happen. And then the fucking Toronto Maple Leafs had to come around and steal him from us. What the hell?
With a job in the field that he actually cares about.
I was so excited to talk to Shane Doan. We were going to have him on the show, and we were just going to no-sell that he's one of the greatest Coyotes of all time. We were just going to constantly introduce him as fantasy baseball analyst Shane Doan. That's all we were going to do. And now, out the window. He's got other responsibilities, and I hate that. But I will say that game tonight sucked, obviously. We know it sucked. I think Doug in the comments earlier said it's just one sucky game. And that's exactly what it is. Zach asks in the chat, any chance we actually make moves to help out bullpen? Possibly, but I really feel like I'm starting to be concerned about starting pitching after Tommy Henry and Zach Davies' last couple of starts.
I mean, when's the last time we had 2 consecutive good starting pitching outings?
Yeah.
Feels like it's been a while. I think it's the you look at a game like yesterday where the pitching obviously was not great, but the bats did enough. I think the bats have been good enough to kind of mask how the starting pitching has been concerning lately. It has not been good.
It's wild that the Diamondbacks have been able to win 40 games with only 2 quality starting pitchers.
And I mean, I think you could look at it from that perspective. You could also look at it being like, okay, we're doing this, and Zach Gallen's not even playing his best.
Yeah.
I think we're really only doing this with 1.5 starters.
Yeah.
And we know we're going to be aggressive at the deadline, so worst positions to be in, but it's definitely the starting pitching as it stands is definitely not encouraging.
Yeah, and Torey had some interesting comments today. Of course, we're going to talk about Game 1 and what happened with him being ejected. But Torey Lovullo said on Monday that Gabby Moreno and Carson Kelly will split time 50-50 at first.
Mm-hmm.
After what we've seen from Carson Kelly, how do we feel about that?
I mean, not good.
Is that more time than you thought Gabby was going to get with Carson coming back, or are you surprised that they're going to split?
I mean, this team at this point, I think, is at I understand right now trying to work Carson in heavy back to get. I mean, that was something that Torey had said, kind of trying to force feed his lines so he can start kind of seeing a little progress there, as opposed to having to have so much time in between starts as he's trying to work his way back. Which that I don't necessarily have a problem with, but at a certain point, it's we're here to win games. We were talking about this a little bit earlier. Like, we're here to win games, and if I think Damon said it, if he's costing you games, then what are we doing? Like, at a certain point, you just got to play the better player. It doesn't matter who is what. And I understand that part of the thing with Carson is it's supposed to be the offense he provided, but you said this earlier. He's not providing any offense in these first 2 games. Again, it's 2 games. Last year in June, he was the best player in like all of baseball. People forgot that. Like, he was legitimately one of the best players in the entire league in the month of June last year. So we know he's capable of doing stuff. So I'm not sitting here being like, bring back Jose Herrera. Although I did say those words.
You did say those words.
I was
joking.
I was going to say, I was joking.
Word for word.
That was said maybe 4 times.
I was joking. And I don't think it's time for that yet. But I think generally speaking, like, if it is 50-50 for the rest of the season, just on principle, that's a mistake. It's just got to be whoever the better catcher is. And I think...
Yeah, I think that's really what it comes down to. I think that we're quick to judgment because... obviously, Carson Kelly struggled tonight.
Yeah.
But you almost have to deal with going through those struggles in order for your guy to get right.
Yeah.
Baseball is constantly this game of trying to stretch guys out, trying to get guys ready, trying to get guys like ramped up, as they say, to being at a playing level. And a lot of that work gets done, obviously, behind the scenes, right? We have backlot games. We have them being sent down for rehab starts in the Arizona Complex League. You have them being sent to he's down there right now with
free admission for those games, by the way.
And Jesse's scaring people by using ACL. Like, come on, Jesse, you need to know better than using ACL when talking about Drew Jones in a tweet regarding injuries.
Yeah,
that's
honestly, there's not, because like if I was scrolling through Twitter and I just saw ACL, Drew Jones, and injury,
I would have lost my shit for a little bit. I almost did. I had to read his whole tweet. I had to read it twice. Just to actually judgment. But
fully read something.
But obviously Carson Kelly, it's the same thing with everybody, right? Zach Davies took a little while to stretch up and get to the point where he was able to give you some length. Mantiply and Carson Kelly are in a similar position where they just need that playing time at a major league level in order to get right. But what you said is totally the truth, right? Like, when you had pieces that were performing and you had pieces that basically got you to where you're at, are you really willing to kind of now jeopardize some games or cost you some games in order to get these guys playing time?
Yeah, and Tyler and Cole are making good points that like you also have to work. Gabby's young; he hasn't played this much of a workload, and you're not going to carry for him,
and you're not going to carry.
But when you traded for Gabby, this was never the plan. Like, Gabby wasn't supposed to come out here and just take over this job. Carson Kelly wasn't supposed to get hurt, and realistically, if Carson Kelly never gets hurt, Carson Kelly's still probably your number 1 catcher, for better or worse. So you don't. I mean, it's obviously hard to say, but you don't like. He always comes into the season as your number 1 catcher, so. I'm not out yet, and I do think there's obviously certainly benefits to him playing for Gabby's sake.
Yeah.
And again, it's 2 games. Like, it's something we had to do with the Ellie De La Cruz thing. Like, he could end up being a Hall of Famer after this. Like, he could end up having an MVP season. But we're reacting to 2 games. Like,
no, I mean,
and even like the small things, like the stealing thing. Like, stealing's not always on the catcher. The fact that it happened that often is concerning, obviously. And it felt like
the Phillies knew that they could just run on it.
Yeah, but right? I mean, how much I would have to look a little more, but how much of that is also on Davies too? Because those happened all, I believe, with Davies on the mound.
That's
happened early in the game. So
that's a good point.
Like,
who's to blame there for that, right?
Certainly concerning, but I'm not gonna. It's 2 games.
I don't want to talk about this game anymore.
Yeah, let's not.
Not at all. Let's talk about game 1, because even though tonight's game sucked, game 1 had everything you could want. Fucking comebacks, fucking fights. Torey Lovullo out there getting ready to take on the whole Phillies team by himself. Like, we all know by now, unless you were living under a rock, that Torey got ejected. He got tossed from game 1 after Corbin Carroll got hit the second time in the game. Obviously, emotions were high. Tension was there. Torey Lovullo said after, or today, he said that in looking back at the video, that he felt like it looked worse in person than it did as far as him getting hit. But he also said something interesting about like the kind of ruckus, the fracas that came around, right? Like the bench clearing that occurred. It's interesting what Torey said to JT Realmuto and Trey Turner in regards to Corbin Carroll getting hit. Let's take a look.
But, I know everybody wants to know if I've changed my perspective on what I was saying yesterday. Do I want to talk about it? Not necessarily. I did want to say that it looked a lot worse. I saw it on video last night. It looked a lot worse than it really was. And JT said what basically was said. And I was going to be respectful and not pass that along. And since he did, I will tell you that's what I was saying. I was arguing and saying that, I know you weren't trying to hit him, but you hit him 2 times, and you just can't do that because it has to stop. And that's kind of where I was. I was after the ejection, and I was talking to JT. And I'm sure I said some other things in there, but that was the point I was trying to get across. And I turned to him and said, if you were the catcher on this team, I'd be doing the same thing for you. And Turner was right next to him, and I pointed to him too. So that's as much as I can remember, as much as I want to share. And that's really the entire length of what was said. And what you saw looked way worse than it was. I'm Italian. I speak with my hands. I'm very intense. I can lose my SHIT. You guys have seen that. But at the end of the day, I continue to and will always have the utmost respect for JT. And I just appreciated the way he composed himself through that situation yesterday.
What a fucking mind game!
What a
Torey Lovullo. What a mind game! He came in to a fight and told the opposing players that if it was you, I'd have done the same thing. I would have loved you the way I love him. And like, I just want Torey to be my dad, right? Or at least like, I don't know, like an uncle that protects me.
It had big energy, being like, "Oh, you messed with one of my kids. I don't even care who's in the right. You touch one of mine.
If you were one of my kids, we gotta go."
And I don't care if I'm wrong. I'm in it now, so I'm not backing down.
How are you supposed to go back to your dugout and look at Rob Thompson in the face after that?
Yeah,
like, would you do that for me, Rob?
Yeah.
I don't know.
Yeah, you got it. They're talking about mind games. Really you sow the seeds of dissent.
Yeah.
Within the Phillies organization. So now when you play them later on in like the postseason, if they manage to get there, now you're ahead.
There's a rivalry. There's a rivalry
brewing. Ooh, this would be, like I said, I tweeted yesterday, it's the best rivalry in sports.
Philadelphia, Phoenix.
Battle for the...
All right. I'm just saying. Some interesting things that came out of this. Corbin Carroll very much did not believe he was intentionally hit at all. And he also... Corbin really didn't want to talk too much about being named the National League Player of the Week, which is something we haven't really touched on too much. But Corbin Carroll, Player of the Week for National League. And obviously, we know he deserves it. We know how good his numbers were in that past series, the 2 home run game.
Both reigning Players of the Week. Whoa.
Yeah.
Young reigning Players of the Weeks.
The young prospects.
Yeah, but they both went yard today.
Oh, yeah.
Gunnar Henderson.
Gunnar Henderson. Because that's what they do. They just play ball well. But that game, of course, the Answerbacks, like I said, showed up and they mounted the team's 20th comeback victory this season. Only the Cincinnati Reds have more comeback victories right now in the National League than the Diamondbacks. But there was just something about that game. And Gabriel says, is Torey a zaddy?
Yes. Is he not on the list?
Is he on the list?
He's an international sex symbol.
He is on the international sex symbol. We've determined that I was allowed to call Scott McGuff a local sex symbol now.
Even you can call him national too, but he can't. He's not taking international flights. This is a local airport.
But game 1 again, like I said, even though it was a lot of fun to watch, it's not like this Philadelphia Phillies team rolled over and died. Obviously, we know Realmuto hit he went for the cycle, which is something that Shawn is very much not a fan of.
Going hitless in the 4 games before that. He's a catcher. He's not supposed to be fast. I don't like it. First Philly since 04 or 02, I think, and only the 17th catcher in the history of the game to hit for the cycle.
Gross.
Don't like it. I also don't really like
though, so that's a fun.
Yeah, I also don't really like JT Realmuto as a person. But that's neither here nor there.
Tweeted out we hate JT Realmuto, and that was before the fight. So
I dislike
it's like I could see it coming, but something I'm very excited about is we are now joined by the one and only Jesse Friedman, who's going to be coming in from Chase Field. Jesse, are you there? There he is.
Look at that. Look at Chase Field behind him.
Look at that Chase Field shot behind you. How you doing, sir?
I'm great.
Are you ready to get out of there? I imagine you wanted to leave a long time ago, I think.
Yeah, this definitely had the feeling of one of those games that was over in about the fourth or fifth inning, right? I mean,
First inning.
We call this team the Answerbacks, but there are some things that they just cannot fully answer back from. And the Phillies took a big lead early, and D-backs at least salvaged some dignity for themselves, but then they sort of lost all of that dignity.
I was going to say, did they?
Josh Rojas came into the game. So not an ideal day of baseball for the Diamondbacks.
Did you feel that Josh Rojas coming in and giving up the runs in the ninth inning and that just kind of dragging on? Did you think that was maybe adding to this loss being more demoralizing, even more so than it kind of already was? Or do you think that like maybe the players just don't give a shit about it at that point, considering it was already a blowout?
You know, I would have agreed with you. I definitely thought that, yes, like this ninth inning feels stupid. We're doing the position player pitching thing. We're all just sitting here in a game that's already over. And it's just getting more and more out of hand as the minutes go by. Josh Rojas, however, took his outing very seriously. And the Diamondbacks, it sounds like they had a whole lot of fun with this, frankly. Josh Rojas just gave probably the most hilarious post-game scrum interview that I've ever seen in my life. He was talking about, talking with Strami after the outing to see what he can improve on. And he was talking about his pitching motion. He was talking about the umpire auditor page on Twitter and how there have been some egregious misses recently, specifically for position players.
He's going to get fined.
Specifically for position players. Apparently he has a theory that, position players, because of the trajectory that they're throwing at, because it's going like 35 miles an hour, apparently they're getting
they just don't get the calls
by umpires. Yeah, they just don't get the calls. So Josh Ross did express some frustration with not getting some calls in this game. But yeah, I mean, I think that was kind of just a microcosm of the Diamondbacks' feelings on this game. They're very much flushing this game as an outlier. Torey Lovullo, when he entered the press conference room, of course, it was dead silence, after a 15-3 game. It was very, very hush-hush in there. And Torey very quickly was like, a 15-3 game. Suddenly the mood really changes around here. And he just kind of was very calm and just said, this game was out of character for us. This was an outlier. We're going to flush it and be ready tomorrow. And that was pretty much the end of it.
That's kind of brilliant. Isn't it? Because obviously this game, there's a lot of emotions that still kind of carry over from yesterday. And I feel like making kind of light of it is a good way for them to actually move on from again, I brought this up. I know you weren't here, but the first game one, it's not like game one was a thorough victory. The Phillies scored 8 runs. The Diamondbacks needed to score 9 in order to win that game. They were down, so they had to do the answer back thing and come back. But this game didn't feel too much off from that game as far as what the Phillies were doing. It just felt like the Diamondbacks were, obviously it was a little worse, and it felt like the Diamondbacks couldn't get anything going on their side as far as offense goes. But this Phillies team is very good, and they've been beating some good teams. So it's not, it's not a team to take lightly, and it doesn't really feel like, even though this loss was terrible, like it was that much different from what the Phillies were able to do on Monday with Real Muto going with the cycle, hitting for the cycle.
Yeah, the D-backs cannot get that man out. My goodness. I think it's what is it, 9 out of 10 plate appearances, I think, that JT Realmuto has reached base in this series. It's pretty crazy.
It was hitless coming into the series for the last 4 games or something like that.
4-game hitless streak coming into the series.
JT Realmuto is a really good baseball player, and I think anyone who thought that he was going to have a high 600s, low 700s OPS for the whole season was sorely mistaken. And same story with Trey Turner. He didn't do as much damage bat on ball in this game, but he drew a couple walks. He did the base stealing thing which was an issue for the D-backs early in this game. You guys might have already talked about this, but Carson Kelly maybe not quite as effective at catching base stealers as Gabby Moreno has been.
Yeah.
Do you have concerns there with that? Do you think that this is something? Is this Carson like ramping up to major league play, or is this something that might be a problem for Carson as the season kind of progresses?
Torey wasn't concerned about it. I mean, he chalked up, especially the Trey Turner stolen bases to just Trey Turner being an elite base runner in this game, and it's going to be hard to catch Trey Turner stealing bases.
Sure.
And he also just said that Carson Kelly is going to be fine. He's proven himself over the years that I wouldn't say that catching base stealers is an asset for him. It's probably a little bit of a weakness and kind of always has been, but he also is not terrible at it. I think some of those stolen bases in this game were more stolen off of Zach Davies than stolen off of Carson Kelly. So is he as good at catching base stealers as Gabby Moreno? No, not even close, right? But we kind of already knew that coming into this, and that's just going to be one of those things for Carson Kelly that is not a strength for him. Hopefully he's able to overcome that in other ways.
Anything else that stuck out to you? I know Corbin Carroll had that big defensive gaffe where he thought maybe it was the end of the inning, and he turned his back with the ball, and Real Muto tagged up and scored. Was there anything said about that, and was that the case?
Yeah, that was the case. Torey confirmed after the game that, he just didn't know how many outs there were. And he talked about how the Diamondbacks have a very heady baseball team in general. And he talked about how Corbin Carroll is at the forefront of that list as far as cerebral players on this team. And I think in a lot of ways, the D-backs are viewing that moment and this game as a whole as just an outlier, just one of those things that's going to happen every now and then, but doesn't necessarily need to be addressed. There doesn't necessarily have to be any yelling over this game. I
want yelling, Jesse. I want people to pay.
Sell the team.
Sell the team.
Reverse boycott.
The Diamondbacks do still have the best record in the National League even after this game. So I think anyone pressing the panic button, this one was ugly. No doubt about that. It was probably the worst all-around game the D-backs have played all season. But Corbin Carroll is not going to make a lot of mental mistakes, right? There were a lot of things in this game that are just uncharacteristic, but things that are uncharacteristic still happen sometimes. And I think this was just one of those weird days for the Diamondbacks.
Shawn and I are way too reactionary without you here, Jesse. You need to be here to balance us out, because the two of us together, we're just losing our minds. And
it gets really bad, Jesse.
You factor fucking Damon in. Damon's insane himself over there, so he's trying to come in like some sort of voice of reason. He's screaming about DFAing guys. He's just egging us on. He's not helping at all, but I know that you are not in any of the minor league cities right now, but we did have some updates from the Diamondbacks minor league system. We did talk about Jose Herrera hitting a home run in his first at bat for Reno, because of course he would, right? Carson Kelly is struggling at the plate, so of course Jose Herrera is going to hit 700 with like 20 home runs down there in Reno. Thoughts on that at all? And do you think that we'll end up seeing Jose Herrera back here at any point this season?
Not without an injury. I think Jose Herrera is pretty clearly the D-backs depth option at catcher. I know we got a question yesterday about the possibility of the D-backs trading Carson Kelly, which would open the door for Jose Herrera to come back up, but I don't really see that happening, especially if Carson continues to look like he has at the plate over these first two games. I don't think there will be a whole lot of teams calling about him. Granted, it's only 2 games. I don't want to read too much into that, but his timing is clearly a little off. But yeah, Jose Herrera, Torey talked a lot yesterday about how it was tough for the D-backs to send down a guy who really has played pretty well this year. He really has taken some pretty significant steps forward from where he was last season. And honestly, there could be a case that the difference between Carson Kelly and Jose Herrera is actually not that big. If you look at some of the metrics as far as catching base stealers, like we were talking about earlier, as far as blocking as well, Jose Herrera is comparable or better in those things. So I think Carson's value, a lot of that comes from him having a better bat than Jose Herrera. But Jose was pretty decent for the D-backs this season, and Carson's off to a slow start. So, we'll just have to kind of see how that evolves over time.
Michael Dunn in the chat says, better to have a mental gaffe in a blowout like this and learn the lesson than in a game it actually matters. 100%. And that could be said for a lot of guys tonight defensively for this team, but he's right. And I think that this game was, like you said, Jesse, one of those flushable games. But when you do see Jose Herrera producing, when you do see some of the guys in the minor leagues producing, it's going to be hard to not want to be reactionary like these two guys are about, some of the performances, right? Kevin Ginkel, there was nothing wrong with what Kevin Ginkel has been doing for this team, and he got sent down simply because he had options left, and there weren't too many other options as far as guys that could be sent down. But speaking of home runs, Blaze Alexander is back, and he has also homered in his first game back for the Reno Aces. So great to see, because Blaze is definitely a name that's kind of moving up the Diamondbacks prospect system. A lot of people have a lot of wonderful things to say about him.
Great to see, because we want Nick Ahmed gone.
Okay, there's some anti-Nick Ahmed chat here in the room from one of us, and
two of us.
Of course, but Blaze Alexander had that fractured thumb, so it's great to see him back.
It is, yeah, and I do think that somehow, some way, you're probably going to see him in the big leagues at some point this season. He is just really took a big step forward last year for the D-backs coming up through the farm system. They've been pretty light hitting for a while. It was kind of an all defense profile, but last year the offense took a step forward, and this year that has continued to be the case. Before the injury, he was on an absolute tear, and he did. He did continue that tear today in his first game back. So I do think this puts a little bit of pressure on Nick Ahmed, maybe a little bit more so than there's been so far. Without Blaze Alexander, the D-backs didn't really have a clear replacement that was really worth bringing up. But Blaze Alexander has the kind of skill set that I think could threaten Nick Ahmed's role. So, I don't know if that's necessarily going to happen anytime soon, but I think you'll probably see Blaze Alexander in the big leagues at some point this season.
Brandon Pfaadt looked very good tonight, Jesse, for the Reno Aces, in our last minor leaguer from the Reno Aces update. Again, not to get too excited, but obviously with the way some of the guys in the starting rotation have been pitching, do you foresee Pfaadt making his way back to Arizona here anytime soon?
I wouldn't say it's impossible, but this was kind of the first Brandon Pfaadt-esque game that we've seen from him since being sent down. He made a couple starts before this down in Reno. They were both relatively short outings, not nearly as many punch-outs as we're used to seeing, whereas tonight he had 10 strikeouts in 5 2/3 innings, didn't allow a run in that game. So really impressive stuff from Brandon Pfaadt. Looking at the numbers, it looks like he got a whole bunch of whiffs on his four-seamer, which is something that we didn't really see in his time in the big league. So if that really turns into a swing and miss pitch, which it was in the minors before, and it was there tonight, we didn't really see that when he was here with the Diamondbacks. I think that might have had more to do with location than anything else. But yeah, I mean, as we talked about yesterday, Brandon Pfaadt, for better or worse, is kind of the Diamondbacks' primary depth option right now. I don't think you're moving Dre Jameson out of the bullpen at this point. So if the D-backs find themselves needing another starter, barring a trade, which of course could happen maybe about a month or so from now, but if they need another starter between now and then, Brandon Pfaadt is probably going to be that guy.
Oh man. That's a little exciting, but I think I agree with you on a lot of that. I feel like the Diamondbacks are done with some of these, like, I don't want to say they're completely done calling minor league guys up or whatever, but I feel like guys are kind of getting more set in their roles. It's kind of like what you said about Dre. I don't foresee Dre really leaving that bullpen role anytime soon, but who knows what happens with that. We do know that the Sod Poodles are back. And, of course, Hodgetown is popping. They have won 7 games straight, and Jordan Lawler is just absolutely raking Jesse. So things are good for the Sod Poodles right now.
They are, yeah. The Sod Poodles Twitter account, they're social people chose violence against us, and we're talking about their 7-game win streak and how at least the D-backs have Josh Rojas pitching. That's good, right?
Yeah.
But
it felt a little unnecessary. It felt like kicking us when we're down. We don't do that to you guys.
yeah, I mean the Sod Poodles, as you said, they've won 7 in a row. The D-backs winning streak ended at 6, so I guess the Sod Poodles are just they're just supreme
They
over
win.
the Diamondbacks.
They're the best
now
team in the
because
organization.
They're winning,
Second
their
hottest
winning
team in the
streak
sport of
was-
baseball.
Their winning streak was 1 game longer. But yeah, the big story there is Jordan Lawler, who has figured things out. Jordan Lawler had a miserable first month of the season. His OPS has gone from around 500 to 800 in a matter of just a few weeks. In the month of June, he is hitting well over 400 with a slugging percentage well over 700. And he's back kind of on the track that it looked like he was going to be on entering the season, where if he continues to have success at AA, he could maybe get a call up to AAA. Corbin Carroll got his in, I want to say, early mid-July last year. I think that's on the table for Jordan Lawler if he continues to play like this. And then it possibly paves the way for Jordan Lawler to find his way to the big leagues toward the end of the season if the Diamondbacks have a need for that. And I know that would just be, I mean, there's been so much excitement with all these young players this year. If Jordan Lawler comes up to the big leagues at the end of the year, that would just be icing on the cake.
It would just be electric. It would
Yeah.
absolutely be electric.
That would be fucking awesome.
I mean, we were talking about Corbin Carroll at this point last year playing for the Sod Poodles himself, right? So it's like crazy how fast that this can move for some of these guys. But once they figure it out, kind of like Corbin was talking about today, like things kind of click like he did when he was sitting with the scouts, and he kind of had these big epiphany moments, and then also small things along the way that just made him feel prepared. But once he was back on the field from that injury, Corbin Carroll did not take a lot of time to move through the minor league system and get up here to the majors. And hopefully we see the same thing out of Jordan. Hopefully we see a similar level of success as well, where once he arrives at a major league level, he sticks here. But we are very excited, speaking of the Amarillo Sod Poodles, to let everybody know that we are going to be joined by our friends, the Carey twins, tomorrow. Chris and Stephen Carey is going to join the show. We're going to talk about Jordan Lawler and what he's been doing as of late, what the Sod Poodles have been doing to win 7 games straight, and maybe who, like Jesse said, we might see up here as an Arizona Diamondback before this season is over. So very fun. Make sure to join us for that. Also, make sure to check out our friends at OG's Brands if you haven't done so already. OG's Brands, flavoring life. They're all about making everything better, including baseball games, including all sports. They have a variety of dosage strains that you can choose from. They also have their special Sleep Edition gummies, their Happy Balance gummies, as well as, if you are into it, mixed flavor bags, including their fruits and their creams, where you can get watermelon, red apple, and peach together, or blackberries and cream, orange creamsicle, peaches and cream. You can't go wrong with any of those. And of course, coming here right around the corner about the next week, we will have pink lemonade dropping on June 21st. So check out OG's online at ogsbrands.com and on Instagram at ogsbrands. You can also find their products at your local dispensary. Must be 21 years or older to purchase, and enjoy responsibly. And also, since Jesse is here, Jesse is probably right now, you can't see it, but he's standing on the only Chase Lounge at Chase Field. And of course, that was provided to the fine folks at Chase by More Furniture. And if you need a Chase Lounge for your home, or a couch, or a TV stand, or a coffee table, or any of these things, I could sit here and rattle off furniture names all night long. Armoires, I don't know. But anyway, check out what you need for your home over at morefurniture.com. They'll bring it to you with their white glove delivery service. They'll set it up for you so you don't have to lift a finger. And of course, you will get the best value you can get in the Valley. So save big on the best furniture when you head to morefurniture.com. Jesse, Father's Day right around the corner. There's few things that you can get your dad that he'll like more than merchandise from the PHNXLocker.com. Am I right? I mean, we talked about dads being hard to shop for, but this is definitely a time to go to the locker. And you can get yourself this special deal right now going on from June 8th through June 16th. Buy one, get one, half off, all shirts and hats. And look, I'm not saying you don't have to be a selfish child. I'm saying you can go ahead and also get yourself one item. One of them can be for you. One of them can be for dad. I'm not making it out to be just exclusively for dads, but dads love sports, and make sure to get your dad the best merchandise in Arizona sports you can get over at the PHNXLocker.com. And I'm glad that we live in a city where we don't really, at least for the time being, have to worry about one of our major franchises leaving the city. Wait, no.
Well, we're better situation than Oakland. That's for damn sure.
Yeah, what's happening tonight in Oakland is heartbreaking. We're not going to talk about Coyotes hockey, but we are going to talk about the Athletics and their fans planning a reverse boycott for tonight's game. We do have this graphic that kind of sums up what the reverse boycott was all about. It wasn't a terrible idea. They decided to fill up the Coliseum with as many people as they could, which they successfully did. They sold, I believe, over 25,000 tickets to a very good game against the Tampa Bay Rays. Tampa Bay Rays, best team in the American League, and who won that game?
The Oakland Athletics are the best team
The
in the
Oakland
American
Athletics
League
won that
because
best
they won
game.
7 straight baseball games, the last 2 of which have been against the Tampa Bay Braves, or the Tampa Bay Rays, and then they beat the Braves in a series a couple weeks ago.
He's very sick, so I don't think he missed.
Sick,
He just that's how it sounded coming out of his nose right now. But Jesse, what were your thoughts on seeing this and what A's fans had planned, especially the very intricate rules on that sheet, which involved them staying silent during certain parts of the game and then chanting "sell the team" during other parts of the game?
It sounds like it was incredibly successful. I mean, like the way that they actually followed those rules. Like the video clips that I've heard, all of the fans are in part, like all 27,000 fans are in perfect unison. And it was kind of a national story tonight, which I thought was cool. I mean, when have the A's been a national story this season other than being kind of the laughing stock of all of baseball, right? A lot of people, thinking about this situation and all they're going through, a lot of people are falsely putting the blame on the fan base in Oakland and, calling those people not properly supportive of their team or not showing up as much as they need to. And they made a statement tonight that, no, we're not the problem, right? The problem is this ownership group and all of the drama that has gone on between them and the county. There's a lot of issues there, but the fan base of the Oakland A's is not one of them. And it was good to see, those fans show out in a pretty big way, like 27,000. Somehow, I guess that still looks sort of empty in a ballpark that size. Right. But I mean, it compares pretty favorably to the 3,000 and 4,000 nights that they've had so consistently this season.
Well, they have certain areas that they can't even sell tickets for right now in the Coliseum. So even if they wanted to try to sell the building out, they literally could not because sections in the 300 were just not even, they're not selling those sections. And you were right because the chants were incredible. And we do have a video that really displays how impressive those chants were. That's incredible.
Yeah.
That is incredible. And I mean, obviously, their intent was to get the current ownership group to do as they were suggesting in selling the team. That's definitely an uphill battle that I don't think the fans there are going to win. And I don't know, Jesse. I mean, I agree with you about the fan base completely. I don't think the fan base isn't there. I think this kind of has a relationship to the Diamondbacks' current situation, right? Where it is the fact that as the place that the team plays at grows more and more to be a place that people don't want to be, then it makes it that much harder to get the fans to come, right? So like as an organization, as a sports team, that's why you kind of have to stay ahead of things and you have to make sure that obviously it feels like the ownership didn't even want to stay in Oakland at this point, which is the big thing. And that's kind of some of the weird feelings in this, in the argument that we had between the Diamondbacks and Maricopa County about Chase Field, it started to feel like the Diamondbacks really didn't want to rectify the problem at Chase Field as much as they just wanted to kind of find an out and move. And we still don't know what the Diamondbacks are going to do, but their situation is nowhere near as bad as what's happening in Oakland. They nearly sold out the Coliseum tonight for what they could sell out, which you see a lot of open seats there. So a lot of those sections, like I said, they weren't selling them. But the sell the team chants, Jesse, were so loud that after the silent protest to begin the fifth inning that started pitcher Hogan Harris thought his pitch-comm system wasn't working because he couldn't hear it. That's literally how loud the chants were on the field for the team, right? The A's then counter this protest. They countered the protest by sending out a press release stating that they were donating all of the revenue from tonight's ticket sales to the Alameda County Community Food Bank and the Oakland Public Education Fund. You sons of bitches. You sons
Never
of
been
bitches.
more upset about charity.
I mean,
and also
it
seems like the most transparent act of charity ever.
It's like my parents are fighting over me after they got divorced about which one's the better parent now. I don't like this, Jesse. I mean, was that kind of a little bit of an underhanded move to like basically make what's happening tonight about something different rather than the big story, which is this organized fan base coming together and protesting what's happening with this team?
Yeah, I think that's a pretty fair assessment, right? I mean, if you're a major league franchise going through what the A's are right now, it's all about controlling the narrative and trying to guide the narrative away from, in this case, the ownership group there that is really done a subpar job, to say the least, taking care of this franchise over the last couple of decades. So I mean, going back to your earlier comments, comparing their situation to the D-backs, they are pretty different, right? I mean, Chase, if you think Chase Field is bad, go
get a game at the Coliseum.
The Coliseum will be a rough experience for you. Fortunately, the Diamondbacks are not at all in that position yet. But
sure.
I mean, unfortunately, with the way that things just sort of work now, the money is often found by going somewhere else, by relocating, and that's what's happening here in Arizona. The Diamondbacks are, from what we know, trying to exhaust every possible option of moving out of Chase Field before, just kind of using that as a fallback, where they'll just renovate it. They'll try to do what they can with the space that they have. But in a perfect world, they would go somewhere else. They could add, a hotel. They could add other revenue streams that would make it a lot more lucrative. And it's the same situation with the A's. The A's are just going to produce a lot more revenue, frankly, in Vegas. And unfortunately, that's just kind of the way that things are.
The Nevada State Senate has passed today the $380 million bill to help fund the proposed stadium for the Oakland A's to move to Las Vegas. So
the final nail in the coffin.
It just so happened to happen on the same day where the fans are trying almost this last ditch effort to save their team. And it's heartbreaking, right? It's heartbreaking because we love sports, man. That's why the three of us do this thing that we do. It's the reason why you guys are watching right now. We love these teams. We love not only the entertainment, but the escape that these teams provide, the connection to our families, the connection to our fathers, our mothers, our uncles, like all of this family kind of lineage where it comes from being a fan of a team for generations and generations. The Oakland A's have that history. They have that fan base. They have people that absolutely love that team. So it's heartbreaking to see this happen. And it's heartbreaking for it to all be about money and for it to be about, Las Vegas trying to get their four teams and everything like that. But on the flip side, I will say that sometimes you just kind of have to realize that there's nothing you can do, and that hopefully by moving this team, this franchise will be taken care of elsewhere, and where they go, they'll be loved and they'll be they'll be taken care of. I know that's sappy, and I mean that's really a hard thing to sell to a lot of Oakland fans, but like we're talking about this on the same day that the Las Vegas Golden Knights have won their second Stanley Cup, which still blows my fucking mind that this team has done this so fast and become like literally part of Las Vegas's like culture 100%. And they love it. I mean, they're embracing these sports teams. So I don't really, I don't have much to say about this other than it sucks, but sometimes life sucks.
Yeah. And also, I think baseball in Las Vegas is going to be awesome. Like, I think ultimately, like, an ideal situation, you get an expansion franchise there or something, and you manage to keep the Oakland Athletics. But from leaving the Oakland part of it aside, like, the Vegas A's, that's going to be a pretty awesome experience.
I had people come for me when I said that before, and I didn't mean it under the context like, oh, I'm so excited to see them move out of Oakland.
Yeah.
No, I just mean it from a perspective that I love baseball and I love the city of Las Vegas, and the idea of being able to go with my jackass friends and gamble and go see Piff the Magic Dragon and then go catch a baseball game sounds like the best goddamn weekend of my entire life. So, I mean, I have a hard time being upset about it.
I think there is still some concern.
Oh, it's only I'm sorry, it's the Golden Knights only their first
second time
cup.
there.
Second time in the Stanley Cup. Sorry, I meant second time in the Stanley Cup. Thank you for all fucking correcting me because this is a goddamn hockey podcast.
Do you even know puck, bro?
Anyway.
Yeah, this guy doesn't know puck.
You don't
fucking
know puck
duster.
at all.
Oh,
Fucking
man, I don't
vendor
know
over
puck.
here.
I don't fucking know puck. But Jesse, any last thoughts from Chase Field? Do we want to remember this night at all, or should we just move on?
It sounds like the Diamondbacks have already moved on from this game. It sounds like they have flushed this. They're ready to go tomorrow. And it sounds like the lighthearted way that this game ended maybe allowed them to turn the page a little bit sooner.
Just like all of my girlfriends in high school, Jesse, they've moved on, and I'm still sitting here heartbroken and upset.
See, I mean, this is why it's good to have Jesse here, though, because because I was sitting here being like, oh, I think that the how that game ended was bad for the team, and Jesse because he's at the stadium knows that it might have been a good thing.
They're all having a good time in there.
I was totally in the same boat. It felt to me like, man, this is just what a terrible day. There was also a moment that we didn't talk about yet, where maybe you guys did earlier, where Joe Mantiply was seemingly coming out of the game. Torey Lovullo came up to get him, and it looked like Joe Mantiply was not having any of that. He wanted to get the last out of that inning. And at least on the field, from what we could see, it looked like kind of a heated moment. It did not look particularly cordial between them. Even though Torey, just eventually left the mound and allowed Joe Mantiply to keep going. But after the game, it sounds like that was actually a kind of a positive. That Torey Lovullo went out there and Joe Mantiply said, go away, basically. And Torey actually loved it. Torey talked about how that's exactly, he loves that. He loves that when his guys, turn him away like that. And, maybe he won't always allow them to get their way. But in this situation, he did. And Joe Mantiply got the next out. And it sounds like that was actually a positive moment in this game.
It absolutely is, especially in a game. I mean, Joe probably thought it was ridiculous that he was pulling him out because, like, what's the fucking point anyway at this point?
Yeah.
Why are you even pulling me out, right?
It's not like the game's
on the line here, Torey. Get back to the dugout. But what was surprising when we did bring this up earlier was how demonstrative he was about it at one point. The waving of his glove at Torey in like such a go away, like it was like a big brother to a little brother almost kind of way. Like it was weird the way that he acted. And I mean, it makes sense. And he was frustrated with himself. So I'm sure a lot of that anger was more about the way he's performed in that inning rather than Torey coming out to get him. But Joe is normally fairly calm and collected. Like we don't usually see that side out of Joe in any way.
Yeah, that's a fair point. That's the first time that I've ever seen any antics like that from Joe Mantiply in a game. It also was kind of like, you can kind of understand where Torey's coming from there. I mean, Joe Mantiply just came back from the injured list. Not necessarily a guy that you would think you'd want throwing 50 pitches in his first game back. But sure. Torey said he was up to 2 innings and 29 pitches on his rehab assignment, and that before the game they had talked about Mantiply going up to 3 innings 45 if they needed it, and then feeling pretty comfortable with that. So it doesn't sound like there's really any concerns about Joe Mantiply from a workload standpoint, this is something the team was kind of planning on happening.
Gabriel's asking in the comments about the Grimace shake, so I think that means it's time to shut this bitch down. No, we are not. We're not talking about. Look, like Grimace comes out of nowhere and takes over the McDonald's account while I have purple hair. These things are all they're running together too much, Jesse, and I don't like it. And I think that something's going on. But what I will say is that Corbin Carroll hit a home run tonight, and if you want to swing for the fences, you can do that with BetMGM. You can get this offer in 3 easy steps. You log into your BetMGM Sportsbook app right now on iOS or Android. You play the BetMGM MLB free-to-play game from May 27th through September 7th, and you be a batter and pick an area of the strike zone. Depending on the area of the strike zone you pick, you will get single, double, triple, or home run, or pop out and receive the prize associated with that type of hit. And you can play once a day. So prizing must be used on MLB, and it does expire in 24 hours. If you haven't signed up for the BetMGM app yet, do not wait. Do so now and use bonus code PHNX. There's a few different offers depending on where you live, but for our Arizona audience, you will get up to $100 in bonus bets on your first wager with BetMGM. Again, make sure you use bonus code PHNX. Check out the show notes for full details. And now listen to Shane talk about the disclaimer.
Disclaimer, 21 plus to wager. Visit BetMGM.com for terms and conditions. U.S. promotional offers not available in Washington, D.C., Mississippi, Nevada, New York, and Ontario. Gambling problem? Call 1-800-GAMBLER. Colorado, D.C., Illinois, Indiana, Louisiana, Maryland, Mississippi, New Jersey, Ohio, Pennsylvania, Tennessee, Virginia, West Virginia, Wyoming. Call 877-8-HOPE-NY or text HOPE-NY 467-369, New York. Call 1-800-NEXT-STEP, Arizona. 1-800-522-4700, Kansas, Nevada. 1-800-327-5050, Massachusetts. 1-800-BETS-OFF, Iowa. 1-800-270-7117 for confidential help, Michigan.
We're still not advertising for Grimace shakes on this show, by the way, no matter what people want me to do.
What is a grimace?
What is a grimace? What is a grimace? What are you, Grimace? By the way, again, talk about Father's Day gifts. If you need a great Father's Day gift for your father, check out Saturday Neon. It is a company started by 2 friends and former college roommates that makes officially licensed collegiate logo LED signs. They have 19 select schools, including Arizona, Colorado, Alabama, Wisconsin, Auburn, and many others. It's great for offices, man caves. If they do a show, it's an amazing backdrop for a show. Dorm rooms, basements, bar areas, so much more. Fathers will love it. Anybody will love it. It's a great gift to give anybody. And of course, right now you can go to SaturdayNeon.com and use code PHNX for 10% off your order. Free shipping for all orders over $200. Are you bobbling?
Yeah, I'm bobbling.
Well, Jesse, we got some bobbling to do. Jesse is a giant bobblehead right now. We miss you. We need you back here. Of course, we will be back tomorrow at 1 p.m. with all of us in the same room, talking about lots of fun stuff to talk about tomorrow, including being joined by our friends from the Amarillo Sod Poodles, the Carey twins, who are always a fun time to talk to. So make sure to join us for that. In the meantime, you can follow us on Twitter. I'm at Cap_Caveman with a K. This guy, he don't come visit him in person because he's sick, but you can get him on Twitter. He's at Shawn_DePaz. Jesse is at Jesse N. Friedman. Damon is at Damon Dog with a DAWG at the end and a little woo. Of course, our show is at PHNX_Dbacks, and all roads lead to at PHNX_sports on Twitter, Instagram, and Facebook. We thank you guys so much for joining us. Jesse, we thank you for joining us from Chase Field. On behalf of this entire crew, we appreciate your time and sticking with us after this terrible game. And remember, kids, baseball is fun, but fucking tonight was not fun.